Yo, what is going on, everybody? And welcome to Mount Schmoedown on the Schmoes of the North channel. I am one of your co-hosts, Ryan Payne. To my right, my second co-host, Ben Rayner, and below us, back from his staycation, our third talking head and our third co-host, John DeGreggio. Fellas, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. This is going to be a fun one.
It's always good to be a company among friends and everything. Good to be back over here talking about Schmoedown, talking about all the people that are involved with Schmoedown in different factions. So I can't wait to dive into this.
I too am. I mean, this is going to be exciting. I mean, so far this month I've enjoyed some of the conversations that we have had and some of our special guests like Soda. I mean, getting Leo Logan to join us is fantastic, talking about factions. And so far, even though this month even though we're not done yet talking about factions, I am still looking forward to carrying this conversation all the way over into August. But for right now, for today, this is going to be a fun faction to talk about. The Usual Suspects. Now, I will be amazed. I remember with The Usual Suspects, I was there at Spectacular when they were announcing these factions for this nuke that was going to change the face of the Schmoedown. And at the time of the managers that were there, everyone was always speculating who was going to be the 10th manager. Well, every other manager was coming out from, of course, when we had with Roxy, Winston, at the time, Jay, who was going to be a manager, but then had to leave, with Coy being a manager, Finstock, obviously. Then at the time, also, Robert Meyer Burnett, and then Shannon officially becoming a manager. Emma Fife at the time, who at the time was going to be a manager. And then, of course, wait, that's 8 I've announced. I know there's 2 more. Hold on. Winston. Oh, no, I said Winston already. I'm going to lose. Huh? Oh, Kaiser. Duh. Kaiser. Of course. Kaiser. Jeez.
Kaiser.
This happens when I'm always going off book. I need to start scripting down when I write. But as I said, with those 9 managers approaching, the biggest mystery was who was the 10th. And when those lights went out at the Spectacular in LA, and all of a sudden we see the banner, Usual Suspects. We're like, oh, this is interesting, a play on the movie. And then immediately, whose music did we hear? We heard the music of the Inglorious one, Samm Levine, and myself along with everybody lost their minds when he walked out there and announced he was not only returning from retirement, not to play, but to be a manager in the Schmoedown. And I just love the fact that he was back, because at the time he was before he retired, top of his game, defended his belt twice, defended the team's belt twice. So it was one of those situations where you wanted to see him back so badly. And then I did love at the end when he finished up his line, which I included in our tweet. The greatest trick a player pulled on the Schmoedown was convincing everyone that he walked away. And it was perfect because it fits so well with the Usual Suspects movie because of that line. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making people believe he didn't exist, and like that, he's gone. So there's just so much hype going into it.
Well, don't forget, with Samm, you also get, as an advisor, you get one of the best game players, one of the best team players, one of the best singles players, and Richard Cushing being an advisor. That is a 1-2 power couple manager and advisor, and we have seen amazing things from them. From last season to this season.
But it was kind of great. I mean, of course, at the time, Rachel was retired, so it made most sense to a lot of people that she would not be heavily involved in the Schmoedown. But it was still nice to know that she had at least it was going to be like an advisor, almost a bit like someone in the shadows in a way, just like being there,
like a consigliere, kind of like in the Godfather.
With the players whenever Samm was ever doing the theory. Exactly. But knowing the fact with Samm, all the knowledge, I mean, on paper, Samm did make a lot
Oh boy.
Since
Ryan, do you want to leave and come out? You're breaking up.
man,
Ryan, you're like frozen and you're like cutting in and out. Do you want to leave and come out? Oh boy. Ryan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
So
hear you.
okay, so I'll go in and jump off of what I heard from Ryan and everything and go from there. He can give his thoughts when he jumps back in and everything.
Yeah.
So basically is this, when you look at the usual suspects and everything and look at what, the Godfather himself did and also what Samm Levine did, and it's no wonder why Samm would want the Godfather himself to be on this faction because he's a seasoned player. Him and Samm both dominated in teams and everything, and he can actually give advice to new rookies, new upcoming players who are hungry for it, and be able to give them their full advice. He's like, I'm going to put the Godfather on there, the same pedestal as Tom Brady and stuff like that, because he's basically a seasoned player where he can get, where he can go on.
That is a great opening match.
Right. Yeah.
Don't forget, talking about the Godfather, don't forget one team came out of Samm put together. It was the Godfather and Andrew Guy as a team. In the no, I'm sorry. Were they a team on the Suspects? Or were they a team on Burnett's team?
I wanted to say he was actually part of the Suspects, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm leaning more towards the Suspects because that seems more fitting for him versus being on Burnett's team, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It's been...
I think what happened was, hold on.
It's okay.
I think, are you back?
Yeah, this wouldn't be a Mount Schmoedown stream if my internet decided not to crash on me.
Ryan, I've been talking to Sean, and I forget, were McQueenie and Guy, were they on a team together under the Suspects? Or were
They
they
were.
a team? So they were under Burnett.
Well, at the time when Samm announced him as manager, Guy and McQueenie were part of the family faction with Robert Burnett. But then Guy did the whole, after they lost to Shazam, he was announcing his retirement. But then Spectacular, he makes his reintroduction of saying he's coming back to the Schmoedown. And then later, they do get drafted by Samm.
Oh, okay. That's what happened. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on the draft all the way back in season 7 and early season 7 before everything switched? What do you think?
Well, honestly, I thought Samm did very good with that draft, honestly. I mean, immediately getting that first pick, being able to pick first, and immediately getting exactly who he wanted. He wanted to get Drew McQueen because of their past friendship and their past relationship as a team. So it was incredible to see that happen. And then, of course, at the time when Christian had said during that first draft, any teams that were in the top 5 can be retained. They don't have to get split up. Meaning when you got McQueenie, you got Andrew Guy. And so knowing that he immediately got 2 great picks right off the bat. And then following later on, he gets Janine the Machine. And I'll admit, that was a great pick, honestly, because Janine, and Samm said it right, she is a steal that nobody had ever picked. He got her like in the 4th round, which was mind-boggling to me. I'm going, How could you not get her so fast? I mean, you should be getting her immediate. You should have gotten her like within the after you make your second round pick.
Well, going back off of what Frenchie said when we were looking at the draft and stuff like that, he said, well, Janine was really hit and miss because of certain things that happened when she was playing and stuff like that. Some people probably didn't entrust that. But to me, but here's the thing, though. You can't rule out Janine the Machine. When you think that she's down, she comes back up and everything. And, sometimes that machine needs to be clean. Sometimes it needs a little oil. Sometimes it needs to go on ahead and have a little more torque with it. But it winds up working in the end. And Janine the Machine just need a little bit more tweaking, a little bit more horsepower to actually power through everything. And I think that's all that she needed was just the right guidance. And Samm knew the kind of player that she is. So he entrusted her more than some of the other factions did and everything. And not to mention,
No, I was going to continue. I was agreeing with you. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. And look at this. I mean, okay, so Frenchie also said, well, it's a no-brainer that he would actually pick the Godfather because that's who he would actually go for. But who else? You have 3 Dynamite players. You have, 2 Dynamite players, if you think about it. You have a seasoned player, which is the Godfather, and then you also have Dream Machine, who got introduced by Jay Washington. And, and you have 2 seasoned players that can actually help out all these other rookies in this one faction. So, and not only that, but not only can they actually help them, but the rookies can actually help out the seasoned players, though, too. Because there might be some spots and areas that they need some sparks with, though, as well. So I think it comes out on an even kill, to be honest with you. And I'm actually surprised that no one picked her during the first or second round, to be honest.
Well, as you mentioned before, it was because of her record. But then at the same time, there's been a lot of people who it was more of a kind of like what manager wanted to make impact, which manager wanted to at least get people that they knew were going to not work well with, but to actually, really dominate with. And while Janine, she was back and forth, up and down, but at the time she had at least an even record amongst in singles and in teams. She had great matches before season 7 with Ethan Irwin as Time Machine. I mean, their teams matches against the Looney Bin and Paddington 2 are still very great matches to look back on to realize how great she is as a team player. And then also when you study her, when you look at some of her previous singles matches, her match against Kalinowski at the Throwdown was very good, honestly. I mean, even when Kalinowski had gotten Bond, she still put up one hell of a fight. And then going over who else he drafted, I mean, it was amazing. He drafts Molly Damon as during the event as well. Really, I won't say surprising people, but really showing people that he was dead serious about wanting to get players of every division, and getting her for Star Wars was a smart choice because we all knew at the time how dangerous Alex Damon was. And when he got picked up by the Stars, rock stars at the time, it was kind of unknown. I mean, honestly, I thought she would have been picked up later on after the event, the supplemental draft. But I was really impressed to see what he was able to pull, who he got.
On paper, Samm picked all the right players. I forget, did he? Where was he from back here?
He went to the Droogs. He got picked by the Droogs. I believe he was Robert Burnett. He was Burnett's first pick, but he got traded later on to the Suspects.
Okay, and then was it the Suspects that had Time Machine with Ethan and Janine, or was that old?
No, I don't think the Time Machine was a thing for the Suspects, honestly. Janine, she was mainly, I mean, at first it looked like she was going to play in all 3 divisions, but then when everything went down, she decided to focus more on singles and Inner Geekdom.
Okay.
Irwin, he was dead set. I mean, he would have loved to work with Janine, but when he got traded to the Suspects, he mainly wanted to stay with the singles, and you do see how it worked. Him being traded to Samm, how it worked out for him. He was able to win against John Roca, to challenge Dan Murrell, went to sudden death in 2 of his singles matches. He did very good in that singles tournament as well. I mean, escaping And I don't mean defeat. He escaped Zipper when he got Inner Geekdom as a slice. So no, he came out with that win, but then later on he loses to Snyder. Seeing how Irwin was actually doing well, and then the potential team of him and Guy would have been very interesting. But that tournament, that small teams tournament, just really wasn't enough. I mean, I get it. At the time, digital was still very. Christian was starting to maybe. Obviously, it looked like Christian just wasn't liking this how digital was working for teams. But I really would have appreciated if possibly Christian could maybe try to squeeze in a couple of teams matches, but before the singles tournament and possibly in between, because most of the stuff was being pre-recorded. But they're doing it like I'm gonna keep saying this throughout this entire show and throughout the entire time we're talking about factions. They did the best they could.
But yeah, I don't think, given everything that went down last year, they did the best they could. I don't see them doing how it could have been any better. They did the best they could. And because of that, in my opinion, we got some of the best matches ever last year. The amount of talent that we saw from everyone had to rise because the storylines had to be put on pause. So they concentrated on giving us really great matches. And that's what they gave us.
Yeah.
And I really do. I mean, I appreciate everything that they did during that time because we needed some type of entertainment to actually help us get through this pandemic, and then just not to focus on the plot lines and stuff like that really helped the Schmoedown build, and also to help Christian regroup a few things for this season going through. And I feel like things are a lot more smoother than what they've been since last year, to be honest with you. I feel like this is a lot smoother with the Schmoedown. I feel like it's just a continual way of actually doing things. I feel like there's Christian's more relaxed than we have seen him in a couple of other stuff that we've seen him do. So I really have to say Christian did a fantastic job putting this together for this season. And not only that, but he feels a lot more relaxed. He can trust people to do the Schmoedown and not have to worry about certain problems or to arise, and be able to take some time off if he needs to take some time off, and let Mark have a companion with him to be a guest. So I think it's actually, I think what Christian did for this season is fantastic.
But also, you are true. Christian did a great job recovering very well and doing so good. And I'd also, before we continue talking about the suspect, I did want to also briefly touch on the other people that they had drafted. He drafted, after Janine, he ended up drafting, at the time, Matt Atchity, who everyone was kind of a little, I won't say, they were kind of cautious about after his match, after the Paddington 2's match against the family. But even then, Matt Atchity, strong teams player, had a great list of accomplishments as part of Rotten Tomatoes / MODOK and Paddington 2. And then also, at the time, before he fully announced his retirement, he drafted Ken Knapsack as a part of his team. Almost in a way to kind of be like a second manager in a way, because Ken had experience as one. So no, and then also he drafted Jader Paramo before he traded him to the Droogs, who he got Ethan Irwin for. But Jader did play one match for the Suspects, at least.
Don't forget, Ken was also part of that trade, I think.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Ken and Jader, both of them were part of that trade.
Because Ken had to step up halfway through to be manager of the troops.
That's right. Yeah. But some of the other people, actually, looking at his old original draft pool, there are at least 2 people who he drafted from season 7 he was able to retain, which is Drew McWeeny and Jen Kemp, who he drafted as well.
Right. What are your thoughts about them?
I thought that Ken would actually bring a lot more to the table, to be honest with you, because of what he did, what him and Rachel did in recent years and stuff like that, and him to bring a little bit of that Ken Knapsack flavor to the team, and also to be able to coach someone if they needed help with anything. I think Ken was a great choice, to be honest. And everything, and also too, he is another one of those seasoned players in a sense too, because he's been around this game for so long. So therefore, he can actually help players that need help.
No, I mean, John pointed out exactly correctly the fact of Ken, because in a way, like Rachel, he has experience playing in different leagues outside of Inner Geekdom, but even then, his knowledge on Star Wars would have been very beneficial to players in Inner Geekdom like Jen Kemp and Janine, who was getting her first time playing. So knowing that he could help them out with one slice to where they can separate the what questions would fall into IG and then what questions would fall into Star Wars. And then when he at the time, and then also him working in teams, he would have been very good on helping coaching teams, kind of like what Witt did for the dungeon. I mean, yes, Ken did step up later on, but he could have been like an extra hand when it came to, like, you would have a great trifecta of coaches from Samm, Rachel, and Ken, like a perfect trifecta team that you would have thought would have carried the suspects into like the top 5, the top 3, or even the to win the faction championships.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are right. You have Sam, who is great at teams and singles. You have Rachel, who is great at interconnected teams and singles. And you have Ken, who is great at the Star Wars and singles. You had, like you said, you have that trifecta. It was great.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wish they had used more of them.
I was gonna get to Cameron Rice as well. That was definitely a downside of the 2020. Like, there were so many people that were drafted from that list that never got the opportunity to play. And even when the free agency signings came up, I mean, yeah, Jenna Bush, she dropped out, and along with a few other people who were dropped out, like Nerd Chronic was picked up by Corruption, and he had to drop because he became the full-time editor for the Schmoedown. But even then, seeing players having been dropped immediately, and then also with certain managers that dropped as well, like Jay and Emma, who were going to be managers for season 7. But continuing on through, we at least got to see Cameron Rice show some knowledge when he played in that horror free-for-all. Sure, he may not have lasted the longest, but him being there, he was able to stay on, at least on the table with Adam Collins and Mark Edward Hoyt, until he missed a that caused him to get eliminated. But
that whole free-for-all was awesome.
I love that free-for-all, to be honest, too.
I mean,
event.
Oh, should have been, man. It should have been live. Hopefully this year.
Definitely.
This year.
And it also shows you the level and the competitiveness of that free-for-all and everything, too, So.
Oh, now looks like John got a surprise guest.
Yeah. It's okay, man. All right.
It's okay. Don't worry, man.
Nah, it's cool, man. My girlfriend's kid wanted to see me for a minute. But no, it's perfectly fine. But no, what I was trying to say was, it just shows you the level of competitiveness that we have for that free-for-all, especially if you wouldn't have missed that question. I believe he would have actually went all the way one-on-one, and then I would love to see them. I would actually just love to see how that would have actually ended and who would have won that, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for that one question, because of just how hardcore and how much of a banger that was to see, to be honest.
Yeah. But you know what? Let's start getting into we've already been going back and forth on the season 7 as it was, but looking at how it kicked off, though. It kicked off with Andrew Guy going up against Burnett in a one-on-one undercard match to the Triple Threat in the New York event. Andrew Guy winning and announcing that he was no longer going to be Dastardly and changing himself to Debonair Andrew Guy. And you do see him becoming like a very good supporting player. He accompanied Jader in one of his matches. He showed up. Yes, we were definitely going to get to the free agency as well. But you know what, Leo, that is a good comment you brought up there, guys. So let's talk about it. Samm in the free agency, picking up Sabina Graves and Robert Montano. Both have played in teams. Both have shown strong performances in the second free-for-all. I mean, Sabina Graves, she lasted like 5 to 6 rounds on the same table as Ethan Irwin and Bibiani. And then Robert Montano, I mean, when it comes with him and Vanessa of late to the party, many people saw him as definitely as like those two really on top tier, because his first teams match against Team Action, he goes perfect, and he's always put up top points when late to the party plays in the match. Other than that TKO loss they had to the Wolves of Steel, they were always a top tier team. And then I do remember he puts Robert Montano in the singles tournament. He ends up losing his first match against Jeff Snyder, though, but still, Robert Montano really had potential to be like a dangerous singles player, and he's showing that exactly in the FCL right now.
Agreed. And do you think after this season, or maybe sometime this season, do you think Robert will come back to the MTS proper?
And you'd have to be blind not to. You'd have to be blind and deaf not to get Robert Montano. Honestly, he has done so far in the FCL. He's done nothing but shoot perfect round ones. I mean, I think outside of his match against Maxwell Hadid. But other than that, he's right now one of the top scoring players. He's not the champion though, but he has the highest rep. But he's undefeated, top record in the FCL, and yeah, he has experience playing in the Schmoedown already. So by the time the 2022 draft happens, I would not be surprised if Samm drafts him back again or another manager picks him up.
Because he is dangerous in the pocket, to be honest with you. Whenever he gets that first question right, it's just that momentum just keeps on going and it doesn't slow down. And then once, I believe though too, I think that 2022 draft, either Samm or someone's going to pick him up because they see what he can do in the FCL. And you have to be blind not to see it and everything. He's been doing great in the minor leagues when it comes down to the Schmoedown and stuff like that. I can't wait to see more from him. He's just been dynamite. No one seems to be able to really stop him in a sense. So it would be interesting to see how he faces off against a Roca or somewhere around that, one of those seasoned players and everything, or a season 2 player versus him. So it'll be definitely interesting.
So let me ask you guys a question.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I just realized something. Samm didn't retain Jim Kim. She's on swag. That was definitely on me. Jesus Christ. But go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
So, take the suspects out for a second. What faction do you think Robert working best with right now? If he were to go into any faction, who would it be?
I think him going back to Samm would be a good choice.
Okay.
That's my thought.
That's okay.
That is correct, Jeff. One of them did play, but we're talking about the faction as a whole. Yeah. I mean, Justin, if you were with us last week, we were talking about the Finstock Exchange, though.
Yeah. Where do you see Robert going, John, if you had to pick somewhere?
Say that again? Sorry.
Where do you see Robert going if you had to pick a faction?
I could probably see him here's the thing. I would love to see Levine pick him up because I think he'd be good in that. But I could also probably see him at the Finstock Exchange. Because Gucci always has a way of thinking outside the box and knows what players are dangerous to go with, in a sense. I think he could go with them or Corruption.
I kind of also could see him working with Koi. Because Koi, he's done great work with so many players. I mean, yeah, with Shazam, but also individually, he does good work.
Could you see him working with the 10? Kate?
Possibly. I mean, Vanessa did get recruited to the Den during the free agency pickup. Although she, like pretty much like everyone else, there was just no opportunity for her to play, or scheduling kind of messed the whole thing up. But I mean, I kind of do want to see Late to the Party be reunited in the Schmoedown for them to try to go on a team's run. So if, let's say by next year, Vanessa gets picked up by the Den, and then through some lack of oversight from the other managers, and Robert gets picked up, yeah, I could definitely see him get picked up by the Den.
Yep, me too.
But
Now get back to the suspects.
I mean, we are definitely. I mean, with the suspects, it is still very fun. They did come in second to last at the end with the faction standings because they were just. It was just the chips weren't working towards them. Janine, she lost in the first round in the Air Geekdom tournament. The family, which was Drew and Guy, lost against corruption when then Drew McMee announced his retirement. Molly, she lost in the second round of the Star Wars tournament, and other than Ethan Irwin gained some good wins, suspects really were having a bit of a rough go. Despite Samm, it has no lack of oversight from Samm. Samm did his best to manage and support all of his players. When challenges were thrown out there, you bet your ass he was there if he saw something wrong and wanted to challenge. I mean, when Video Drew played against Jen Kemp, who was still part of the suspects at the time, Video Drew pretty much was on guard for anything Samm was going to challenge for. It just shows exactly how sharp-minded Samm was. Or no, Samm is. Samm is as a manager.
Right. Because when Samm challenges it, he challenges a play for a reason. He doesn't do it just to freeze up the other player or to do something off-putting or anything like that. It's there for a reason, and the way he uses the challenges is actually reasonable and everything. I was like, okay, I forgot what matches or whatever that I watch, but whenever he does it, I'm like, okay, here comes Samm with the challenge, because I know that there's actually a challenge in play that could benefit them in the end. So he always has a way of actually using it to his advantage.
Here's a question. You know how the JTE rule is named after JTE?
Yep.
Should they change the challenge rule to the Samm Levine rule? Because it feels like every match.
The Samm Levine challenge.
Yeah, the Samm Levine challenge. What do you guys think of that?
It would need to roll off the tongue, just like how when Dewberry got a perfect round, they were trying to get perfect rounds to be called a Dewberry.
How about the Inglorious challenge?
Possibly. God,
that's true. The Schmoedown, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the Schmoedown spontaneity. Yeah, Schmoedown. Yeah, I didn't really care for that bit, to be honest with you. I understand what they were trying to go for. It just didn't work.
I also realized I did play a singles match against Ben in that double header events with Jericho and Smith where he got knocked out. And you were right. Guy, as good as he is in the studio, did show that he can't adjust the digital, but he does have a bit of weakness as a player. But sorry, Ben, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Here's the thing. I don't think we're talking about Schmoedown. I think it's coming back before the end of the year, and I'm really content. I don't know how much. I don't know how confident I am. I'm really content that the Schmoedown has something to do with the new studio, wherever that might be.
Well, also too, with Guy being on the desk with Mark, it could wind up being a surprising twist to where all of a sudden you might actually have a team called the Schmoedown and everything being formed, to where all of a sudden Drew goes, I told you that it was actually true, or something like that. I wasn't crazy after all, and stuff like that. But if they put it in there, I just hope it's not forced in there and everything, and I hope it serves a purpose. But would I like to see something like that? Yeah, maybe. But
But going on in with the Schmoedown appearance, it did for the longest time when Guy was doing that. I don't say it was dragging it, but it kept all the attention on Guy. So when he did show up at that time when Samm wasn't around and he was being a side coach or like helping out with accompanying some of the players in matches, it was kind of a weird little thing that did distract and detract from the suspects. I mean, it didn't change how they ended up in the faction standings. But one thing's for sure, just like with the dungeon, Samm realized that at the end, he too needed to make a change. So when that free agency pickup came along, who does he get for next year? He gets Liz Shannon Miller, he retains Ethan Irwin, and then the biggest shock was when we all saw Drew McWeeny, and he said he was not only coming out of retirement, but he was going back to the suspects. Already, right there, starting off with season 8, he had 3 killers. 3 dominant players in singles, because Ethan Irwin came so close to winning that belt off of Dan Murrow. Liz Shannon Miller, who pulled off upsetting victories against Chance Ellison and Bibiani. And then McWeeny, already a dominant teams player. Right now we're seeing season 8. He shook off the rusty cobwebs from his match against Lon. Now he's getting back in the game, and he's mainly focusing on singles. But still then, right now, we all know exactly how dangerous Drew McWeeny is.
Right. And I want to actually talk about that too. Because, okay, remember back when we were talking about his career, I think it was like last month that we were talking about him. Mm-hmm. But remember how I told you that he was never comfortable with spinning again. He was always going after the first choice. So once I saw the Barbarian match and everything, that's what turned everything around to me. As like, he didn't have Samm there to help guide him and say, hey, look, you might need to go ahead and spin that wheel again. So let's see what happens. This time, he's like on fire. He has the confidence and everything that came into this match. He's just dominant in the first round. He comes in on the second round. He winds up getting a category that's not that great in or anything like that. The first whenever he spins the wheel the first time, then he goes to and then he goes to Samm. Samm goes, you know what? I think you need to go ahead and spin the wheel again because there's other categories that we can actually go with. And he has that confidence that's like, okay, let's go ahead and spin again rather than let's go ahead, just play where the wheel lands on, and that's it. So now he has that confidence build because of Samm and everything. So I think that's working in his favor now. He has that confidence versus where he was before, where he was by himself. There was no faction. There was nothing there.
I do agree with you 100%, and that match with Barbarian, and also another match from season 7. As much as people don't like it for the many challenges that were thrown out, but Molly going up against Wit, that's also a good example of Samm as a manager. Samm may not be the most knowledgeable in Star Wars, but when it comes with his players, he wants to fight with. If a player wants to challenge something, he'll be right there to fight there with them. And yes, that first round, within 5 questions, there was a billion challenges thrown out there. But it was showing exactly how important the match was, that both Kaiser and Samm came out there and were fighting not only with their players, but for their players. Sure, they may have not gotten a challenge spun the way they wanted to, but afterwards, when Samm was able to pretty much take care of the political aspect of the challenges, it allowed Molly to focus on playing to where she gets the victory against Wit. We even saw that when Irwin went up against Roka and against Merle. Samm pretty much told him, look, there's something you like, stick with it. But also, when they ever got to sudden death, he would tell Irwin, those rounds are done. This is now sudden death. If you know that question, you answer it. If you need to use that repeat, just use it and worry about it later. And we saw exactly how well it worked out for Irwin. The fact that now he has another number 1 contender. He's going to be playing Merle for that championship. So we do see exactly certain players like McWeeny and like Ethan having Samm in their corner has helped improve them as players.
Absolutely. Who do you think has that Ethan match? Who do you think will walk away with that?
As much as I love Merle, I want Ethan to walk away from that champ with that belt. Merle, I'm not saying Merle can't hold it all the way to the next spectacular because he can, but Ethan has shown to push Merle twice now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and not only that, but I feel like we've seen that before where we have – I love Merle. I love him to death. He's dominant in the Schmoedown and everything else, but I would like to actually see somebody else hold that mantle and and to be able to go into the next season and everything too. Because I would love something different versus something that I've already seen before. Because I love Merle. It's just that I want to see somebody else be able to hold that belt a little bit and everything for the next season. That's just my thought process on it, though. And going off of what Ryan Cranston said about Drew has anything about being relevant in singles this year, that is very true. And I would love to see him team up with Paige. I think having Paige on his side and also too helping her, sharpening her edges and stuff like that when it comes to her playing style, I think it would actually help, to be honest.
I like that. I like that team up.
Speaking of Paige, I mean, let's talk about who he drafted this year, part of the suspects. I mean, second pick he got, Amaru Moses, one of my fellow boys I knew back. I talk to every now and then, but yeah, makes the biggest shock out of everybody out there getting Amaru Moses in that first round. In a way, he kind of did set the pace there. I mean, Kyler gets Mara. But then Samm immediately follows that by saying, oh, you get a well-respected Intergeekdom player, someone we know is champion. I'm going to pick a rookie who can become a champion. And we see that by getting Amaru.
Okay, let me ask you this. In collision, who wins, Saul or Amaru?
I'm going for my boy Amaru, obviously.
Okay. How about you, Sean? Who do you have?
John, I think you're muted. Brother, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. My bad, dude. But yeah,
No worries.
I would actually have to go with Amaru, to be honest with you. He's shown some confidence. He's gone back into the game the way that I like for him to be back in the game. Everything has his head on straight and everything. It seems like he's now on a roll. So yeah, I would like to actually see him.
I mean, but continuing on with the roster he has there, he gets a strong Star Wars player, Marie Wilson, one of the Dragon Con players who did have a great debut match against Sean Sullivan, and then she did very well against Gold Leader, but Gold Leader obviously came out with that victory there. But even then, gets Stacey Howard, and he gets Jacob Whittabin, who played recently. He gets Paul Walter Hauser, Frankie Alvarez, Paige Fabretti, the Boston Badass, Nikki DiMolanta, who were waiting to make her debut in Star Wars, and then also retains Doug Benson, who he picked up from free agency, who we finally got to see play this year against John.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to say. No, I'm pretty good actually. I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what to expect, but Doug is pretty good.
Yeah, Doug's match was very entertaining. So many people were saying it reminds them of the old Schmoedown when it was just coming in with movie knowledge and having a fun personality, and it works, honestly, because you saw with Doug. I mean, when Samm came in, it was just like a nice back and forth conversation between the two of them. It wasn't strategy talk. It reminded me when Coy was managing Kevin against Jericho. Coy immediately came in there trying to be a manager, and Kevin just goes, first off, hi, Coy. And we just saw that there. Like, Samm goes, like, dude, you're going to be fine. Just play the game.
Yeah.
But looking at these picks so far, guys, I mean, outside of Amaru, some of the other picks that have been incredible standouts to all of you so far.
I'll let Ben go first.
Yeah.
Paige.
I was going to take away Paige, but I wanted to see who else stood out.
I would say Paige, and I won't say Amaru. Both of those guys. They've been awesome to see how well they're doing so far.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, we're going to see Amaru in a collision, and we just saw a great match from Paige against Sarah Sweeney. That match was awesome.
I will. Oh, go ahead, John. Anyone else? I mean, are you agreeing with Ben? Like, Paige and Amaru have been the great standouts, or has been any of the other players like really caught your attention?
You know,
think
I would have to. I think that would actually be a good one, to be honest with you. I would like to see that, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ben on that one.
Yeah, I will say that removing Amaru and Paige out of the equation, I would say Frankie and Marie have been some surprising standouts. And then even from his first match, even though he lost, Paul Walter Hauser against Horowitz was good because Paul only missed one question, but he was able to get every other question correct. And it was still a very close game.
That's actually very true.
If I had to look at some of the rookie picks, yeah, I would say Marie and Frankie because Frankie, one slip up in round 3, but even then in his match against Brother Lomas, he came back and Brother Lomas missed all 3 of his questions, and then he wins against Jessica Sloth. So we do see he's going to be playing later on against Rick Radis, and then also with Marie Wilson. Sure, she didn't get to the finals of the Star Wars tournament, but because of how good she played against Sean and Gold Leader, she, no doubt in my mind, she's coming back for the next tournament.
you know what I mean? I really want to see Nikki play. I hope he gets to play in a tournament.
Well, we are going to see her go up against John Hoey soon, so we are going to see exactly her Star Wars knowledge. If she's like on the same, I won't say the same level, but let's see if she has the potential of what Molly has right now, to where she herself can take down possibly any other Star Wars player like Damon, like Laura Kelly. I mean, she came up short against Laura Kelly, but still, we'll see what Nikki's potential in Star Wars will be.
How would you like this as an exhibition match? Adam, no, not that. Wait, Andrew and Nikki versus
Molly and Alex.
Molly and Alex. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart for a second.
No, hey man, all the times we've done this, I've had so many brain farts or hit my head against the mental wall so many times. So all is forgiven. But
right.
That is honestly, that has been one exhibition match people have been wanting to. The community has been clamoring for since Nikki was announced as part of the rookie list and when she was drafted.
And the winner of that match against Dan and Mama.
That I'm more curious to see how Dan does in Star Wars trivia playing, but it'd be fun.
Ooh. I like this one. Paul Walter Hauser versus Kevin Smith versus Jericho.
That would be fun. You're cutting in and
Can you
out.
guys hear me?
Right. Yeah, but you're freezing.
Great.
Wait, well, you're good. You're good. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Now he's
But John, you saw something caught your attention.
okay. So I definitely like the idea of what Ryan Christian said. I would love to see Paul Walter Hauser versus Kevin Smith versus Jericho in a triple threat. That would be awesome to actually see that, to be honest with you, because Paul Walter Hauser is a great competitor, but for him to go up against Chris Jericho and Kevin Smith, that would be awesome, to be honest with you. That's some heavyweights. Yeah.
That would be fun.
Honestly, I mean, Kevin Smith already is like, he's on the high road right now because he has proven to be a player. We have yet to see Chris Jericho play, so possibly seeing Jericho. I mean, I would love for, like last year, Jericho, he could have himself, like Jericho and Smith, both of them can have themselves a match that's spectacular. So why not? Let's make it a triple threat match. Because to be honest, we've barely seen them since with the digital era.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping everything that's happening, I'm hoping we get more studio stuff coming back soon.
Me too. Because I feel like that's what I'm missing the most of is more studio stuff, to be honest.
We are definitely getting that. I mean, in August, it's already been for Scum and Villainy at the Scum and Villainy Cantina. Sure, Christian already has like 2 main event level matches, but he did say they're going to be taping studio matches there. And judging from the ticket sales, it looks like it's going to be for an entire day or for half a day. So who knows how many matches they're going to be able to get in there by the time, they record, Merle versus Irwin, Kalinowski versus Chandru. So it wouldn't surprise me if by the time Christian has himself a medley of maybe a culmination of singles, teams, IG, and Star Wars matches.
To be honest with you, I'm happy if we get like an all-day event and everything because we've been missing out so much with the studio stuff that Christian's like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to go all in. We're going to show all our cards. We're going to go on ahead and do this and everything. I know that Ben wanted to say something, so I'm going to let him jump in.
We're not forget next week at the collision, 2 matches are going to be from a studio.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
I think, if I remember correctly, in the Kingdom at teams will be studio matches next week. So that's going to be interesting.
I think so too. I think that's going to be very interesting. It's going to show where we are as far as how hungry people are actually wanting with the Schmoedown and seeing where we are as far as the numbers go and everything for being back into the studio. So, that's where we're going to end up. That's where we're going to be seeing a lot of, to be honest with you.
I may want to get back on target here. Where do you see the suspects? As we write down, where do you see the suspects from now until the end of the year? Ryan, why don't you go?
Honestly, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, anybody? I'm just right now for the studs. Personally, am I lagging again? Jesus Christ!
No. You're fine.
Keep going.
I was saying the internet strikes back. Okay, here's what I will say. Put this up there. They're right now in the bottom 3, but not because they're not as good. They're only in that bottom 3 because, like with Swag and like with the Stars, their players have they've had players that ultimately have suffered TKO losses or they've been knocked out. So I'm pretty sure that when tournament season comes around, just like with Corruption last year and like with the Mercs, there's going to be a turn. Whoever Samm is going to put in the IG or Star Wars tournament, or whoever he puts in the Fast Singles tournament, they're going to come out swinging. Because win or lose, if Amaru wins, he gets a shot at the Aaron Geekdom Championship. If he loses, he's going to be in that Aaron Geekdom tournament. I have no doubt about that. Lightning Time, Liz and Ethan. They, without a doubt in my mind, I see them in contention for teams' belts.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I personally do. I do see them with the opportunity. I mean, they narrowly had a lot. They lost to Rushmore, but then what happens? They play against who did they beat recently?
I know.
They beat the team from the tournament. No, don't worry. We'll not focus on that later. I'll remember. But as I'm saying, Lightning Time, I see they had a recent win under their belts. So I do see them 100% gunning for those teams' championships. Either it's going to be Shazam or Corruption. Liz and Ethan they beat the Outsiders. They didn't beat the Outsiders. That was the first round. They beat them. I'll worry about that later. Mm-hmm. But as I said, they have the best. They're right now a top team. Drew McWeeny is getting back into full swing. So by the time he is inserted in that singles tournament, he's going to be a huge shadow to look out for. Because right now with McWeeny, now that Samm has gotten him more into the idea of spinning again, using a mulligan. Thank you, Leo. They beat Deception. They beat one of Corruption's top teams of Deception. So knowing the fact that they can beat Deception, they can definitely move on to beat Corruption. They can move on to beat Shazam. And Liz and Ethan have that chemistry together.
Yeah, I do.
But John, I'll move this to you, man. Where do you see the suspects going?
To be honest with you, I could see them probably right now. They're the underdogs, and
Yeah.
I pretty much go for the underdog team and everything. And I could see them going into maybe climbing back up. To be honest with you, I could see them during these studio performances and stuff like that. I could see them maybe getting some fire under them and everything now that they're back in the studio again. I think that they're going to be full focused. I think they're going to be powering through some of these other teams that we haven't seen even took notice of them climbing out through all that rubble and then coming out like a phoenix from the ashes, rising and probably wind up not taking it all, but maybe coming in like second place in this thing because they are the underdogs. And I always go for the underdogs because you can't ever count out.
No, not
Nope.
quite yet. We still have a few more minutes, 50. Not really.
Not yet 50, but go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I can see them being like third or second place, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Or, even in top 5, to be honest, if I'm going to be honest here. Because they are in last, probably like dead last, probably. So I could probably
third
and last?
Stars are dead last right now. But.
So I can see them maybe going into the top 5 the most. And I can see them going on that level to where they're climbing through everything, slaughtering people, slaughtering teams and everything. I could see Samm being the top guy, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Because you can't rule Samm out. Samm is just fantastic.
I don't rule him out. Like when we talked about the FinStock exchange last week, I said one of their weaknesses I do see right now, they have a slight flaw. They have a slight flaw in IG and Star Wars. But even though Amaru and Marie are great competitors, right now I've not seen Jacob's match against Jesse yet to see if he's improved. And regarding how Nikki's going to do, Samm is really going to need to have some strong weapons in his corner in order to win.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting rest of the year, and I think they could pull it off. And they have to keep going and they have to put the right players in tournaments, but I think they could keep going. And I think with that, is there anything left to say? I don't think so. Yeah, so let's wrap up. Sean, where can everyone find you?
All right, guys. So if you guys want to go on ahead and follow me, all you guys have to do is just go over to our YouTube channel at Movie Lovers Unite. Also, too, you guys can also go over to Facebook at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite over there, underneath the same brand name on Instagram as well as on Pinterest as well. Then, of course, you guys can go on ahead and get an audio-only podcast of our episodes, wherever you guys get your podcasts from. Also, too, go on ahead and download Good Pods and everything. That's a good way for you guys to go to rate us and everything, comment, and all that other good stuff about each individual episode. So go on ahead and check us out on Good Pods and everything. And also, too, go on ahead, if you want to donate to my page and everything, all you have to do is just go on ahead, go to www.gofundme.com/Movie Lovers Unites podcast, and that's how you can donate maybe $5 to $10. But if you don't want to, just a simple subscribe, simple like goes a long way at Movie Lovers Unite. Go on ahead and do that. And then, of course, follow me on Twitter at Movie Lovers Unite. And then you can email me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And, of course, for all your entertainment needs and wants, go on ahead and go to www.movieloversunite.com. Jay Wade just now joined our page as far as being an editor for the page and stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of different content from him. So if you're a huge fan of Jay Wade and what he does over there, go on ahead, check out his first article that he posted today. So that's everywhere that everybody can follow me at, and that's it.
Right. How about you, Ryan? Where can everyone find you?
Well, everyone can definitely find me here on the Schmoes of the North channel. But Mount Schmoedown every Saturday at 1 o'clock, 1:05, whenever we jump on, discussing so many of the Schmoedown players' greatest and brightest. Also, but right now, throughout this entire month and into August, we're going to be continuing talking about factions, but we are going to be taking a break next week, to watch the collision. But come back with us on August 7th, guys, as we are going to be talking about possibly one of the dominant factions and factions that are still doing it very well, that's laying the brickwork, and that is corruption, guys. We're going to be talking about corruption on the 7th of August. But other than this show, and sometimes on Schmoes of the North and Canada, I forgot our Sunday. Schmoedown night in Canada. Schmoedown night in Canada. See, the mental wall's coming back up again. Maybe because I'm afraid my internet is going to glitch out on me again. That's what happens. Internet has put the fear of God in me. But you guys can find me also on my wrestling podcast I do with my buddy James Shimo, current first class league competitor. It's called the Rambles, Rages, and Wrestling Rambles and Rages podcast. Right now, we're just taking a break, but we are going to come back. We're going to be transitioning our show, sometimes doing it live on YouTube or pre-recorded. But you can check it out but you can also check out on Schmoedown Productions, James's YouTube channel, where we also do discussions and watch-alongs and reactions to the stuff that we like to watch. The Marvel shows, Star Wars, The Bad Batch. We're going to be doing stuff on He-Man soon and on What If. So go to the YouTube channel, Schmoedown Productions, and just check out some of the stuff we've done.
Nice. And you can find me at Ben_Radio all over this channel. I'm on shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Just find me there. And we'll see you in a few weeks on the next episode about Schmoedown, talking about corruption. Have a good one and stay steady and yeah. Bye everyone.
See you guys.